So yeah, you guys found a little girl. She kept talking about Lily. You went. She actually talked to you guys about where your party would probably, all of your captured crewmen. You guys found them, and actually, you guys had 5 crewmen that were bound at this murky pond. You had Autumn, Crispy Pete, Tear, Wee Willie, and Wormy. I guess your crew, your dedicated crew that you picked up back in Port Nine Zaru, back in the Forgotten Realms, the old world, and you guys saved the day, and you guys got back to the beach, found out that Lily was on a ship as well, and you guys were there for a couple of days because there was some damage to the ship. So you guys took a couple of days. You basically scrounged around. You found, in fact, who's doing the scavenging? Who's trying to find food? Because you need food and water. You need 1 food and 1 water every day for everybody. And you guys have a total of 11 people between the party and the members of your crew. So that means that you need 11 basically days worth of water a day and 11 days of food a day.
I know in the beginning you were saying we were living off that reptile meat.
Correct. Yep. That was about 10 days worth. So you could feed pretty much everybody for 1 day off of that stuff. And you guys were there for a couple of other days. So, of course, as you guys were traveling through the jungle, you could, you found that there were fruits and vegetables and stuff growing. So why don't whoever is in charge of taking care of the food supply and the food ration, the water ration, why don't you give me a survival check?
Omi will be in on that. Unless anyone else wants to be the leader of that. Okay, then I'll roll it.
Hey, if we need food stolen, I'm your man. But trying to find it, I don't know.
All right, Emmy. So you over a couple of days, not only including the food that you guys were consuming while you were fixing the ship, it had a broken mast, etc. You found a total of 60 days worth of food, and you'll be consuming 11 a day. So you can go ahead and write that on. Can you guys write it on the message of the day? Can you guys modify the message of the day by chance? I'll let you guys try to modify it. If not, we'll put it in the party sheet.
No, it won't let me do anything on it.
I wrote 69 in the food. All right, so I went ahead and I put 60 food, 60 water, and that's after you guys went ahead and fixed the ship. Shen, can you give me a repair check on your ship?
1 second.
Or whoever is in charge of the repairs? Oh wow, nice acing, and you thought it was going to take a lot longer to repair the ship, Shen, but in 2 days, you and the crewmen whipped that ship back up into shape, and you got it anchored offshore. And you actually had a couple of skiffs as well that you were able to salvage from both the wreck from your ship and also from Lily's ship. Lily, what was the name of that ship again?
For my ship, it was called the Siren.
The Siren. Okay, so you also, and that was also finding rations as well. So between fruits, and this is for Omi, between the fruits that you found, the berries that you found, you guys killed a couple more raptors, you set traps for them, etc., and rations that you found on the Siren, you were able to, and plus eating as you're going for a couple of days, you're able to scavenge 60 days worth of food, 60 days worth of water. So you guys get all of the ship fixed. You get food, you get it stored into the ship, and pretty much anything else that you guys want to do as you guys are turning in for like the last night and having dinner and whatnot.
These night crawlers taste good. Anybody want one?
Night crawlers. Well, they're super quiet tonight.
Yum, yum.
All right, so the next morning, as you guys are loading up everything, all of the meat that you've been drying and whatnot, sort of between the two little rafts that you guys have, or dinghies, I guess we could call them dinghies, on a piece of wood that is floating on the shore, you guys notice that there is like I said, a couple pieces of broken wood, and you're like, what in the hell is that? You see a crab, and it looks like he's all dressed up with a belt. He's got like a reticle over his eyes, and as you guys are starting to load aboard the dinghies, he says, "Hello, mates." He actually speaks. "Hello, mates." And Lily, seeing that you are from this world, you recognize him as a Scullion, which is one of the races in the land of Charybdis here. But he says, "Hello, mates." I wish I could do it like Bannock. "Hello, mates."
Is that a... Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Did that crab just talk, or have I been at sea too long, guys?
Oh, what are you talking about, mate? Of course I'm talking. My name is Equius, and I am a Scullion. And you are a Kraken. You should know who I am. Well, the rest of you don't look like Massaquani, but you must be some of those new people that are new to Charybdis, or the new ones. But my name is Equius. Pleasure to meet you.
The largest player, largest character, whoever that is.
That would probably be everybody's pretty much Massaquani, so, or human. The Kraken would be pretty tall too.
Well met, Equius. You should meet our captain here, Captain Shenna the Finn.
Oi, Captain Shen of the Finn. Never heard of you before, but well met, Captain Shen.
Well met, Equius.
Would you, by chance, be willing to take me off of this horrible, savage island of Corntar? I can work.
What's in your skill set?
I can make maps, I can chart destinations, and I've been actually studying a lot about this flood that we're having in the world of Charybdis, and I've totally lost my English/Australian accent already. It's totally gone. But oi, mates, I can take me off of here, and I'll work for cheap, and just keep me fed, and well, just let me eat some barnacles and some little bit of water, and I'll chart some maps for you and let you know everything that I know about the world of Charybdis.
What kind of nutrition would you require?
Well, I'm not very big, Captain Shen, so obviously I just need a little bit of maybe some slime, maybe some maybe if you let me loose on the side of the ship, but yet tie a little piece of thread around me, and I'll just kind of climb on the bottom of the boat and eat some barnacles and whatnot.
That could be beneficial.
Yeah, and cheap too. I don't
Any-
need as much
any
as you,
objections for the
Massaquani.
rest of the crew?
Doesn't seem like it.
Yep, doesn't seem like it. Come on aboard.
All right, so he you guys are quiet tonight. So he steps off of basically clicks off of the boards, and he climbs up into one of the dinghies. And he asks, "Where are you from? Because you don't look like you're from around here."
We came here from another place, another land. We got caught up in a storm. We shipwrecked on the island here, and we've been recovering from that. And we're setting sail today.
Well, that's good, because there are a lot of the walking gods that are here on Korn-Ta. And when I mean walking gods, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they are huge. There's Donga, which is a giant ape. There's a giant crocodile. There's a giant, almost like a lizard. There's a giant snake. There's a giant spider. And these red men, or Uguks, they worship all of these walking gods. And yeah, I'm surprised that you haven't found the red men yet. As he kind of like taps on his shell and pulls his little reticle over one of his eyes. You had an encounter with one of them, I see? Huh?
Yes, we rescued 5 of our crew members from them that had been taken hostage after we crashed.
Aye. So it looks like all of the crew members that you have here are the ones that you saved, aye? Okay.
Yes.
I wish I had a captain like you, because I was working for some of these new creatures that come from this planet, or this plane called Earth, and they were from they call it a country, and they call it Spain. Well, I was working for I was a super for a Spanish guild, and the captain wasn't a very friendly bloke. But anyway, we hit a storm, we capsized, and I think I was the only one that actually survived. So I appreciate it. As he's dragging his backpack, he's actually got a backpack full of gear. You can see all kinds of like charts and rulers and pens and inks and all that stuff on his backpack, surveyor's tools, and he basically just drags it up into one of the dinghies.
Hey, nice pocket protector you got there.
Oh, boy, it's the tools of my trade, mate. But I do thank you. I think. But as you guys are starting to, I guess you guys are casting off, or are you guys doing anything else on Korn-Ta, or going back into the jungle looking for these walking gods, or anything like that?
I'd just say if there was some spare wood available, we'd load up on some while we were there.
Yeah, you guys, over a couple of days, with that raise that you guys had, you guys got done super early, and you were able to basically get a lot of wooden planks inside of the ships and inside of the ship in one of the cargo holes that you'll have spares in case you need to make any kind of repairs or anything like that. So Shen had a great repair, so you guys had plenty of extra time to get some extra supplies. And plus you basically scavenged everything you could off of the Siren as well, and that's basically where you got your other mast, and that's how you got it fixed. So nothing else? Going out to the ship?
Yep. Ride the boats out to the Spoon Slayer.
Going out to the Spoon Slayer. All right. So as you guys are rowing out to the Spoon Slayer, Equius, he's kind of tapping his claw on his shell, and he's looking at the ship, and he says, "Oi, mates, this is not a very big boat for Charybdis. Are you sure this vessel is seaworthy? There's all kinds of sharks the size of boats. That's we hit a storm, and our ship was called a man of war. That's what the Spanish captain called it. This thing had 32 guns on each side. This thing was massive, the biggest ship that I've ever seen, and it wasn't even enough to survive one of the storms that we have here in Charybdis. I hope so."
Lily gasps at the comment of the hard shark.
Ooh, does that scare you, little one? Oh, there are whales and to the north that are twice as big, 3 times as big as this vessel. But the oil is very valuable, and the meat is as well. Because you see, here in Charybdis, all of the lands are shrinking, and the water is expanding for some reason. I think I've been studying over the course of several months now as to why, but there is a little bit of lore and story to why this is happening as well. Ooh, as he looks over towards Zero, and he says, "Ooh, oi, mate, what is that contraption around your neck?"
This is a very valuable necklace for me. It's a link to an old friend. I can't seem to find him. His name's Vorn.
Vorn, what type of friend is he? That looks like a very powerful medallion. Oi.
Oh, he's my buddy. He's my shield buddy. I just feel extra stronger with him around.
What kind of friend?
Ever since that storm, he's been lost.
Ah, so that's how you got to Charybdis as well, is through a storm. That's how the Spanish, or the Spaniards from this planet Earth, or this plane Earth, that's how they got here. It seems like that's how a lot of the newcomers are getting to Charybdis, is by this mist. They always talk about a storm, and then they always end up in the Flotsam Sea to the north. The Flotsam Sea is a very dangerous place.
Do you know where these storms originate?
I have no clue, my friends.
That they could possibly travel realms? It's very interesting to me.
I'll tell you what, I don't know anything about it, but I think I might know someone who could possibly help you, especially if you are trying to get back to your world and to get back to playing D&D 5e ASAP. I think I know. I think I may know an archmage that could possibly help you. And this is no mere mage. This mage has mastered all 4 elements of the world. And as far as I know, she is the only one of her kind, the only archmage in all of Charybdis.
I very much want to meet this archmage.
Well,
I seem to be having control of the electric kind of magic.
Ooh, of the air, huh? You can summon storms and. Ooh.
More like shock and electrocute people. Fry them.
Fry them. So you're an elementalist, a murder hobo. No, I'm just kidding. But I could possibly take you there, and you are fairly close.
What are you thinking of me?
Well, for all Markesh and Mr. Spoony could have ended up just about anywhere for all we know, so we could use some help on trying to track them down.
Ooh. So as you guys are talking to, you're talking to Equius, you guys are getting onto the ship and all of that other good stuff. And as you guys are as Shen is calling to, put the sails up and whatever commands that the captain of a ship would give, Shen's barking out orders and squabbling the deck and whatever else. I don't know. What are you doing, Shen, as you're fixing to set sail?
Just making sure that everything is stowed for sea, everything's tied down, so that if we run into a storm or any rough weather or rough seas, that stuff doesn't go flying all over the place. Getting the crew ready, making sure everything's stowed as it should be, getting all the crew in position so we can set sail and get underway.
Right on. So I've added Equius. He is actually a wild card. I've added him to the party sheet in the bottom tab on the right, where it is the other tab where it has your 6 crewmen now. So yeah, so we can, anytime we need them, we can just drag them over into the combat tracker and they can help out. Is what I really like about the Savage Worlds rule set. Also, as Equius is kind of getting a little settled, there's a moment where he's like scrounging through his backpack and stuff, and he pulls out a map of Charybdis. So even though I've already shared this with you guys, I'll share it with you again. And this has all of the locations of everywhere. So, he is from Charybdis, as is Lily. I don't know how much she knows about the world, but Equius, he's been on ships for quite a while, so he knows his way around Charybdis. Now he gives you the map, and then he tells you, do you know the story of Charybdis? Do you know? Have you spoken to any of the natives? Have you seen any other visitors? There's not only the Spanish, but there are they call themselves Englishmen. There are Frenchmen. There are Dutch. There's even these people called Chinese people. And there's privateers sailing the seas, checking all paperwork to make sure that you are legitimate, and especially Admiral Duckworth. And if you do not have papers, you will pretty much have your boat confiscated. But good old Equius here, I can forge some documents and make everything legitimate. Now, if you want to, he tells you, he says, if you want to go to Brigandy Bay, which is north of here, this is the black market trade. This is where you can find anything you want. All kinds of buying, all kinds of trading. Usually you can trade merchandise that you can't usually trade on the other planets. Well, I'm sorry, on the other continents. What's left of them. But all of the land, the planets. Are we playing Starfinder by chance? But anyways, there's multiple continents. They've shrank, so wood, ore, they're becoming super scarce. The whales are starting to drift more from the north, so finding the whales to whale is actually much harder. So oil is becoming less and less available. So things are starting to go to hell in a handbasket here. Piracy has gone skyrocketed, especially here in the Pirate Sea. So Perk is that's pretty much a haven for pirates. All of these small little settlements like Bluff's Crown, Azakay, Shark Bay, Swindon, they've all been taken over by pirates. But there are some settlements by the English, by the Spanish, by the Chinese, by the Dutch. There are some settlements that have popped up. But like I mentioned, I'm trying to do this. It's hard to do an English or Australian accent for a long period of time. So there is a problem that we have here, and I'm sure the Kraken here can probably tell you as well, and the Massacani. But Charybdis is drowning, and this has been happening for the past 13 years now. And like I said, the land masses used to be huge. Ore was abundant, wood was abundant, many of other, supplies you could get with ease. But now, it just doesn't happen. You see, here there was a king. His name was King Amemnus. And he did a rather ruthless thing to an individual, or to 3 individuals. Some say these individuals deserve it. Some say they did not. But there was a soldier that was a lieutenant, and he worked for, and he was, his superior was King Amemnus. And he was a young lieutenant. He had a very promising career until here on Corinthia, an Ugok shaman blasted off one of his arms with a bolt of darkness. So he was released from King Amemnus's army. He went back home. And then the war was won against the Red Men. They were suppressed. And then the rest of the army came back home. So this young lieutenant, his name was Morgan. And he had a wife. And he had 3 daughters. And before he left for Corinthia, his wife was pregnant with a 4th daughter. Well, with a 4th child. When he had his arm blasted off, he came back home and found out that he had a 4th daughter. So he and his wife named this baby, this child, Mara, Mara. So the wife died of complications several days after the baby was just born, maybe a day or 2 before Morgan had got back home. And several days after that, his wife died. And the other siblings, they were a little bit older. They were in their teens. They blamed Mara, this new baby, for their mother's death that they had loved so much. So the sisters were named Mana, M-A-N-A, Maka, M-A-K-A, and Mala, M-A-L-A. And, like I said, they didn't really blame the they didn't blame the father. They blamed Mara, the newborn baby. So as Mara was growing up, these 3 sisters, they basically tormented her. And Morgan became depressed. He started drinking. So Morgan really, he wasn't much help to his newborn daughter. And he, like I said, he basically just constantly drank. And he always was complaining that the pain in his arm just would not go away. And plus, with the loss of his wife and his limb, it just put him into depression. So, as the story goes, one night, in a drunken stupor, this Morgan basically told his daughters what had happened in the jungles versus the Red Men on Corinthia. And he told them about all of this vile magic that was not born of the elements, of the 4 elements of Charybdis. But there were blood sacrifices and pools of blood, lots of terror. And then he spoke of the walking gods, Donga, the great ape, and one of the large snakes. And he says the shamans would summon and control these walking gods and fight he and his men in the jungles of Corinthia. So by this point, Mara was 7 years old. And like I said, she had been tormented by her 3 sisters. So she just sat there and shivered as her dad told her these horrible stories. But of course, the other 3 sisters, they believed every single word of their father. But Mara, she just kind of shrugged it off, but it did scare her. So, over the next couple of years, the 3 sisters that tormented Mara, they gathered every type of text they could on the Redmen and the walking gods. And then as they went shopping, they went to other ports around their home. They would always ask, all of the old soldiers who had fought them. They would always pay them for their stories, and they just gained as much knowledge as they could about King Amnes's war against the Redmen. And it seems like they were wanting to start practicing this magic that wasn't part of the four elements. So over time, over these couple of years, they started, as they were gathering their magic, they started practicing this magic too. All of the texts about magic, and Mana, she was the first to actually manifest her power. And one night when her father was laying drunk on the floor, he fell, he busted his head open, he was bleeding all over the place. And Mana knelt to bandage him, and her hands were drenched in blood from helping him. And then, to her wonder, a small puff of black smoke rose from her fingertips, and then the sisters knew what they had to do to their father. So, they murdered their father. They bathed in his blood, and they prayed to the old gods of the Uggux. And yes, this is the legend of the hags, the three hags that I'm telling you, the three hags of the flotsam sea. So young Mara, she woke in the middle of the night and heard her sisters chanting and all of this cavorting. So she crept down the stairs and watched in horror as they covered themselves in her father's blood. Mara then screamed and ran to her father's side, but he was dead. So Mara ran away as her three sisters were still doing this ritual, trying to summon some of the walking gods. And Mara was able to slip away to the city watch. So she told the city watch, and they came a-running. They opened the door to see that the girls were standing in a deep pool of blood with body parts everywhere. Morgan was definitely dead. So, all of a sudden, the three sisters, as the city guards started smashing down doors and climbing through windows, they started casting bolts against the guards. And they took several guards out. But the rest of the soldiers that rushed in, they basically subdued the three sisters very violently. They beat them near unconsciousness before they could cast another deadly spell. So the three sisters were thrown into the dungeons of Agrapog. And the young sister Mara testified against her sisters and told them what they saw. And she was considered innocent, but Mana, Mala, and Maka were not. They were found guilty of murder. So there was a trial, and even though they were found guilty, they didn't really have much of a trial because the guards that they killed were also beloved by the city of Agrapog, and King Amemnus even got involved in this. And King Amemnus was the one that actually rendered the guilty verdict. So as he called them all guilty murderers, the sisters cursed them, and as he was being cursed by the three sisters, they were saying, "You will die, king." So the king didn't want anything. He didn't want to hear anything else. The three sisters were cursing him until their dying breath. And the king took the three sisters and tied them up on posts as the tide was out along the shore of Agrapog. And he says, "You will die a very violent death for even cursing me and telling me that I will die." He says, he laughs and he says, "I am not the one that will die tonight. You will be the ones to die." So even the sister was on the cliffs looking down, watching the shore creep up closer and closer and closer to her sisters, until high tide came in and drowned all 3 sisters. But they did curse the king until their dying breath. And they said, as we drown, you will drown as well. And then, as the next day, as high tide left, the corpses were gone from the post on the shore. So, King Amemnus says, good riddance. He had this meeting with the people, this audience with the people. And he says, if you murder anyone in my kingdom, this is what is going to happen to you. And after the tide left, the bodies weren't there anymore. And then it started pouring. And what I mean, it started pouring for years. And the water level started rising. And it just kept rising and rising and rising. It was a massive storm. So, legend says the dark gods had responded to the 3 sisters that died. And this tempest, this storm, continued for several years. So all of the continents, they started shrinking. Foothills became swamps, and King Amemnus could do nothing to stop the rain. Not even the wizards could stop the rain. So the tide turned on King Amemnus, and he was so beloved that he was now starting to be blamed for this drowning of Charybdis, for this rain that would not stop. And remember, during the trial and until their dying breaths, the 3 sisters swore that it would rain until King Amemnus died. And that's what happened. Because all of a sudden, a coup, assaulted the palace at Agrapog and killed King Amemnus. And after he took his dying breath, the sun came out from behind the clouds. And it stopped raining. But a lot of damage had already been done.
Yep,
So that was...
Alcor was right.
He created the internet. He said that on the internet too. I read it. Everything's true on the internet. So 13 years later, this happened 13 years ago, and the water is still rising. Of course, not from a constant rain, but the legend has it that the hags are still flooding the earth until there will be nothing left, only water, and everyone will drown. Oy, that was a long story.
Lily
That
looks
was a
at
scary
the
story.
closest person to her and holds up the doll and speaks through the doll, of course.
What are you doing, young one? You are crazy.
It's Scullion sure does talk a lot.
Oi, well, I'm just telling you the story. We've got some visitors here to Charybdis, and I'm just trying to get them. Just trying to get them caught up, is all. Why do you speak through your mouth and hold that doll up, little one?
Yeah, she holds the doll up. I'm the one speaking.
Cuckoo. The Carillion kind of taps his shell a couple times and says, cuckoo. And then just kind of dives into his bag, and you can see some rulers and protractors and bottles of ink kind of flying out all over the place. As, what do you guys think of this story? The world is drowning, but, Equius, the Scullion, he says that maybe you could help save the world from drowning. You can also maybe find out how to get back home as well. Maybe if you kill the hags or save the world, maybe a portal will open back to your world. But he doesn't know.
Lily speaks up again. Oh, by the way, Dave, I don't know, it doesn't matter right now or whatever, but Lily came here earlier too. She's not from here, but a few years earlier. They've been here a long time.
Yeah, but you've been there for a couple of years, so you would have known what a Scullion is. You probably
Anyway,
would have
she
seen a
says-
couple of other places besides Quarantine
yeah.
as well.
And plus, I was being I had a patron